Okay. How is this stream going? Everything's slowly loading up. Just want to give everything a test and make sure everything is loading up. Pop that one down there. Where's OBS? OBS is there. One says fair, the other one says not so much. Okay, it looks like my restream isn't coming through nicely, but everything else seems to be coming through nicely. All right, well, if you have any questions, please leave them in the commenting area. Let's just make sure everything is booting up. And yes, it is. All right, perfect. Now for people on LinkedIn, please note that the YouTube stream is more stable. So if you want to have a stable stream, go over to YouTube. And also these videos will be available after the fact as well. So you don't have to worry about making sure you quickly go in there and watch them and things like that. So don't worry, they will be available. All right, just finalizing little bits and pieces before we jump right in. And I do think we are good to go. All right, so what are we talking about? I always forget. All right, turn that on. And finally, turn that off. Record that. Record part of my USB. And we are recording this. Okay. Well, I think we're good to go. All right. So let me just switch over. All right. I hope everyone can hear me, see me. This is a bit of a more of a relaxed session than normal. I just want to kind of just do a bit of a relaxed one. We'll just talk about just developing things and building things out and having a bit of fun. So if you do have your comments and questions, please just chuck them in and I'll do my best to answer them. And we might as well jump in. All right. So hello and welcome to this Drupal build session on custom field development. Now, I've talked about managing fields and creating content types and fields in the past where we haven't really touched on actual development, but I have covered the back-end part of it. And if you want to watch that video, I think it's called Getting Started with Fields in Drupal, just head over to the WebWash YouTube channel, and I do have a video on that, on how to just create content types and fieldable entities and attach fields to things and so on and so forth. But in this video, I want to focus on the actual development part of building a field, because there are some great APIs for creating your own custom fields, because sometimes a field just doesn't cut it. So you need to get in there and create your own custom field. And so I do hope by the end you get inspired. Ugh, kind of cringe when I say that. I sound inspired, empowered. It's kind of like a corporate speech, but you know what I mean. Where you can see what's available with custom fields, because there's a lot you can do with custom fields, and it's pretty cool what you can do. So we're going to start things off just by going through the 3 parts of a field, and then we're going to just jump into the code. So apologies if this is all new to you and you haven't really looked at Drupal code. We are going to be looking at code. We're going to be spending most of our time in code, and there will be bugs. I'm sorry, there will be bugs. Maybe I should have like a can of bug spray or something as kind of like a prop, or no, have a fly swatter every single time I say there will be bugs, or something like that. I don't know. Sounded more like a whip than a fly swatter. So with that, let's just jump right in. And if you do have any questions, please just chuck them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, let's get into it. All right. So just so everyone's aware of what we're talking about, let's just quickly go through what fields are in Drupal. And I'm going to do that from a back-end standpoint, and then we're going to actually look at the code. Okay. So what we're going to do is, here I've got a Drupal 10.3 site. So a new 10.3. So make sure you upgrade to the latest 10.3, because it's going to make it easy to upgrade to, I think, 11 whenever that comes out. And if you go to structure, content types, and click on, say, manage fields on article or basic page, you will see these fields right here. And these are the field types. So here in this field type column, we can have a text, comments, image, entity, reference. Now, sometimes a field type refers to the data type on how that data is stored. Other times it doesn't. So you shouldn't think of, okay, field type is just a column in a database. Sometimes it is, absolutely. Sometimes it's not. For example, comments. A comments field type actually gives you functionality, whereas a text, of course, is a text formatted along with summary. That is kind of like a Drupalism, but you can create just a integer or a float or a decimal field, which corresponds more to the actual column in the database. But a field has 3 parts to it: a field type, a field widget, and a field formatter. So the field type is how the data is stored in the database, or wherever your persistent data is stored, because it may not be a database, it can be in something else, I don't know. Then the field widget is the actual form element that is used to enter in data. And one thing I just noticed right now, they changed this handle icon in 10.3. Look at that. Look at that. Anyway, sorry, I digress. I'm just finding all these little things in 10.3. So a field, then the field widget is the form element which is used to enter in data into the field. Now, a field can support multiple widgets. So a widget can support multiple field types. Yes, it can be a little confusing, but a widget can be its own standalone plugin, and I'll go into more detail about that in a second. But if we click on, say, one of these fields, now this is not going to work, is it? Anyway, okay, perfect. Yeah, tags. So this tag is an entity reference field, but it can support 4 different widgets. So just be aware of that. And that's the same for formatters as well. Now, a formatter is used to display the data, the field value, to the end user on the front end. And a formatter works the same way as a widget. You can have multiple formatters support the single field type. And then if you click on the cogwheel on the right-hand side, you do have options you can choose from. And that's the same for manage form display as well. The widgets can have their own options. All right, perfect. Now, let's go ahead and quickly create a custom field, and we'll look at the actual code. We're going to jump into the code. All right, so we click on, what do we click on? Create new field. Wasn't that called add a new field before? Anyway, create a new field. And here you can see all your different field types. So these are technically field categories. But let's do the basic. So plain text, and we'll select a text plain, and I will find the bit of code for this because it will make sense. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I've got it here somewhere. Text plain. Did I store that somewhere? No, I didn't. I did plan to do this. I promise. Oh, yeah, here we go. In my notes. In the show notes. All right, so let's open it up. All right. Close others. So we have this. Wait, no, that's not it. That's not it. String base. No, I want. Which one is pointing to? No, that's not it. String item. Yeah, that's it. That's what I want. All right. Hopefully you can see that in the stream. Yeah, you can. Okay, I assume so. All right. So here we have the field type, and this is just a plugin. From a Drupal standpoint, it is a plugin, and you have the elements and you have all the methods here. You define your field type using this new annotation, which in Drupal 10.3 now, I believe you have to use this new annotation, whereas before you could use some comment and annotation. And a field type can define a schema, storage settings, constraints, kind of like validating the value of the data going into the field. Now this, don't think of this as form validation. That is two separate things. And then you can have generate sample value, and down at the bottom you have then settings. Then let's jump back here. So where is it? Let's jump back here. So I'll create this. What is this called? Text plain. And then we can kind of make our way through it. Okay. So right now we are selecting text plain, and you can see here this matches this field type. Come along here and click on save settings, and let's just do save settings there. Then we have the widget. So let me move up the text plain field, and now that is using the text field widget. If we come back to the code, you can see here that the default widget is pointing to string text field. Now string text field is, if we have a look in the widgets down here on the left-hand side, that would be string text widget. Let me try and open that up in a side. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. Now, this widget then, this default widget relates to this plugin, which is the field widget plugin. Let me move that across. And here you define your default settings, your settings form. These are all the settings. And then, as they say, with a rubber meets the road, we have the form element method. This method is the actual form which is used on the actual back end or front end, whichever way you want to talk about it. So that is, so if we jump over here, so let's save that. And then finally, we have the formatter. Let's move the formatter to the top so we can see it. The formatter is plain text. If we have a look at the code, we should see here on the left-hand side, we should see under plugin, field formatter. And this one is, oh, what is it? String. Default formatter is string, so I assume it's string formatter. Open to the right. There we go. And now we have the three major parts of a field. And now we have the formatter. And again, you define the formatter a similar way using a plugin, using annotations. And then we scroll all the way down. You can set settings, and view elements method is where it actually gets displayed on the front end. So there we have it. It is all there. So the three parts of the field is a field type, field widget, and a field formatter. And you can see here that the widget can support different field types, and the field formatter can also support different field types. And then the field type, I'm going to be saying field a lot tonight, can then set a default widget and a default formatter. But for this field type, which has an ID of string, any formatter that has string in the field types, then this string field type can use that formatter or widget. There you go. If that's not confusing, I don't know what is. But once you start playing around with it, it will all kind of make sense. All right, so if we jump over here and save it, and let me just move a few things over before we jump onto other things, because I do not want to possibly use this. No, cool. Let's continue. Let's go to add content, article, test article, and text plain. So we're storing the value in there. Click on save. And then we have, well, let's go back. This is the widget. So this is the actual widget itself. And then here we have the formatter. So the formatter is getting displayed right there. Now, before we jump into things, I do want to just check one other thing. Perfect. Just give me a moment. So what is this? Just talk amongst yourselves while I sort myself out, because I just want to bring up the database. I'm just trying to find where the database is actually stored in my setup. So I'm just having a quick look here. So give me one moment. So no, it's not there, it's not there, it's not there. Yada, yada, yada. Why can't I see that? It's not there. The dash. I will probably have to look at this a bit later. Oh, there we go, there we go, there we go. Okay. Oh, tries to do things in a funky way. All right, perfect. So that should be it. All right, perfect. So here, I just want to bring up the database because I know we're going to have to use this, and that is, and bring that back here. There we go. There we go. Bring that in because it's going to make life a lot easier. All right. So now we're done. All right. So what are we going to build today? All right. What we're going to do is we're going to actually update one module which I worked on a while ago. And I created a Drupal 7 version of this module called Code Snippets, which is in Drupal 7 days, I think it was a content type and a custom field called snippets. And the snippet actually here, if I take a look at my slides, which I prepared earlier, the field itself can store multiple values. So it allowed you to store a description, source code, and then also a drop down where you can select the source language. Now, I understand you don't have to really write a custom module for this or a custom field for this. You could use paragraphs I totally get it. You would probably use paragraphs for this, and you probably would want to use paragraphs just to save coding and save, writing custom code, because as soon as you write custom code, you put in technical debt. So please, if you're going to do this on a proper site, use paragraphs. But for the sake of education, and hey, I needed something to talk about this week, because this is now official. I think I've now been doing a live stream weekly now for 6 months straight, and I want to keep it going. I decided to, create this setup where all of this is stored in a single field called snippets. So the snippet itself will store 3 properties, and we're going to use Drush generate to kind of generate most of the code for us. But Drush generate hasn't been updated to the latest annotation. So it's going to be a bit of fun putting things together. There's going to be a bit of debugging, and we can kind of learn things as we go. So let's go ahead and do a bit of site building. And if you have any questions, please just chuck them in as we're building them out, and let's have a bit of fun with this. All right, so I will start things off by opening up my terminal, and let's generate a module, because we need to create a module first. And I'll call this one snippets. So that is generate. So if you search for Drush generate, you will see a whole bunch of items here that you can use to generate code. So let me go ahead and type in generate module. So the module name will be called snippets description used for storing snippets, and yes, create a module file. No, we don't want to install. No, we don't want a README file. Make people look at the code. What's the point of documenting anything? I'm joking. All right. So we have that set up. Let's close this. Let's bring up our modules directory, and we have our snippet. All right, perfect. It's here. Next, we need to enable it. Very important. I've mentioned this before because I've covered Drush generate before. Always enable your module if you're going to use it. Okay, nice. Next is generate, but let's do a bit of a check. Grep field. We can see here that we do have a few options when it comes to generating a field. We can use this field generate. This produces a lot of prompts, so I will go bit by bit, go through plugin, field type, widget, and format, and go step by step. So the first one is going to be field type. So let's do that. Well, let's clear this. I will then go ahead and type in generate field type. And you want to search, you want to find your module machine name. Now, this is why it's important to install your module. Install your module or you won't find it here. Now, the plugin label will be snippets code. Now, the Drush generate likes to chuck things at the end, so you can change all of this later on. So you don't have to worry about it getting it perfect, but you might get like duplicate things saying widget at the end. So you can see here like plugin ID, it'll automatically suggest using the module machine name and then the kind of convert the snippets code thing as well. So yeah, just be aware of that. But no, I want the plugin to be just snippets code, and then the plugin class will be snippets code item. Generally, a field type has the word item after it. Make the field storage configurable. No, we don't want that, and just leave that as it is. All right. let's do the field widget. Again, what is it now? Snippets. Want to chuck that into snippets. The next one will be snippets default. Again, you can see the plugin ID. No, we want snippets default. And again, snippets default widgets. No, don't want it configurable. No. Okay. And last but not least is the formatter. So let's chuck that in. Again, put in the module name. This will be, oh no, what is it? What's that? Label. Snippets default. We'll just call it the same. And then I'm gonna have to put a de-esser on the audio on this because I'm saying the word "esser" a lot. And I know, thanks to my teeth, and yeah, sometimes I produce my essers. Oh, yes. There we go. All right, done that. Is that formatter? Oh, I didn't do that. Okay. All right. We're done. Well, we're not done. We're done generating code. All right. Now, if we go to our code right here, we'll straight away see here on the left-hand side, we have source, plugin, field, and then we have our field, our plugin types, which are field widget, field type, and field formatter. So the field type, you can see here, it's pretty basic. So we need to change this. So these old annotations, I gave this a test today and I don't think it works in 10.3. If somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 10.3, they probably moved over to the proper annotations way now, because this originally did not work when I enabled this module. With the field type, you need to define a isEmpty method. So this tells the system what constitutes an empty field. Then we have the property definitions. This is the actual data type of the value that's getting stored on the field. It's not the field column. It's not the database column. No, it's not. It's the data type, because then Drupal uses that in every part of its system. It's like type to data. Then below that, we have the constraints. This is where, again, where you validate some type of, where you can put in some validation for the field. And again, this isn't really form validation, because the reason why this was developed is when you're normalizing data and posting data through REST or something, you don't have a form to validate your data. So this is where constraints come in. Then below that, we have schema. This is where you define your actual schema column. And then you have this generate sample value. This is what's used to generate whenever you want to generate test content. Then in the widget, we have just basic form element. This is the main form element, and that's it. Then in field formatter, we have view element. Again, it just returns the value of the field. Now this keyword value matches, so be aware of that. If we come along in here and go up to the top here, it starts off by defining your property in here called value. Then you define your column, because that property called value is using it. Then in widget, we can pre-populate the value property this way. And then with formatter, it also does the same thing as well. We can get it this way. So this value is a kind of a standard, but it's used everywhere. But you don't have to call it value. You can call it whatever you want. All right, so what we're going to do now is just simply copy over a few of these annotations so that I know that they work. And I will just replace, hopefully it's going to ask, and no, it's not asking for those use cases. So it needs to pull in, where is that? It needs to pull in a few extra. Well, let's try it this way. And no, he doesn't want to do that. All right. So what we need to do is pull in the translatable. So that sorts that out, but then we need to add in another use statement, which is field types. And so we'll probably have to copy that across. Let's just copy this and sort this out, and then we can go into more detail about it. We'll copy this. But this one needs to support field widget. There we go. And last but not least, let's chuck in this one. Well, let's copy these use statements, chuck them in at the end, remove this one. No, I don't want CodePilot to generate that for me, and save it. All right, let's remove this and we're done. All right, so we've added in these new, well, no, they're not annotations, attributes. I believe they're called annotation attributes. Are they called attributes or annotations? Attributes. Okay. All right. Here we have our ID, which is snippets code. And then the default widget is pointing to this one called default widget. And this field type supports then the snippets code. And then we have snippets default also supports snippets code as well. At this point, things should work. But before we jump into things, what I want to do is define the schema, because I do know that once you create a field, it's actually, you have to then delete the field for all this stuff to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another property here. Well, two properties. So we can just copy this. And this one will be called source code. And we're going to make sure it is a string type, so a string value. And we'll call this one snippet code, and let's not set it as required. I will duplicate this one, and this one will be called source lang or language. And yeah, why not? Let's just call it that. All right. And this can be the snippet description. Perfect. So value will be the snippet description, which is always required. And then we have the source code, and then we have the language. We will remove this because it's not necessary. And then down here, what we need to do is define a few more schema options. I'll just copy this just to kind of save a bit of time. And we are done. All right, cool. So this source code will match this property right here. So you have to make sure that they do match up. And let me just quickly do a Google search, because I believe I was calling these annotations when these are technically attributes. These are called attributes. So apologies for that. Yes, they are. All right. Yeah. So these are called attributes. All right. Learned something new today. Thought they were called annotations. Anyway, they're called attributes. All right. So forget what I said when I was calling them annotations. They're called attributes. All right. Okay, so we have set everything up, and I do believe at this point things should work. Should. So if we jump over to our site, and let's first of all clear the cache. So I'm just going to quickly clear the site cache. All right, we're done. Come to structure, and let's create a content type first. And we'll call this one snippet, and add a new field. And we should see code snippets here on the right-hand side. It's got some description. And let's call this one snippet. Then click on continue. And let's put in a bit of help text. Add code snippet. I'll be curious to see where this appears. And we will just leave everything as it is. All right, perfect. Now, if we go to add content, snippet, scroll down, we can see our snippet code here. Now, we can't see the other fields because we haven't configured the widgets. What I want to do is I just want to get this to work and make sure it is saving data. So test code, and then we can type in, I don't know, custom index.php. Let's see if this actually saves. All right, it's saved and it is returning. All right. Now, the reason why this part's working is because we have the widget, which gets returned here, and it's showing us the value. And then we have here the formatter as well. So everything is working so far. So far, everything is working, which is good. I'm happy. Things are working well. All right, so then with all of that working correctly, let's have a look at the database, because this is where it starts to get very interesting. If we search for snippet and then go into browse, you will see these column names here on the actual right-hand side. You will see field snippet, which is the field name, machine name, and then underscore value. Then you'll see field snippet, underscore source code, and then source lang. This is where the actual data is stored. So if we come back to code item, this is where we define these columns. And then in the schema, it is stored here. Right now, we just have this value, of course, but once we start filling it out, it'll all be populated in there. Let's now put in the rest of the elements. So let me just grab these elements, and what I'll do is paste this in. So we have source code, source lang, and then we have a few options here. This technically may or may not want to be hard coded. I don't know. It's up to you. There's other ways of doing that. You may want to code it, may not want to hard code it. But you can do it whichever way you want. And then we can chuck, so we have value, we have source code, and we have then the default value. And this is important. You want to also make sure that you set the default value to be from items, and then the delta. And what the delta is that a field can have multiple values. So a single field can have multiple values. And the best way to actually demonstrate that, let's just save this. And if we go into edit, we now should see a few options here. But let's just add in some hello world. So test equals hello world. And click on save. We still haven't updated the formatter, so we can't see anything there. But if we go into our code right here and we refresh, we should now see these values here getting populated. Perfect, okay? So now things are starting to come together. And so with this delta refers to the actual value, the order of the value, or the delta of the value. And if we jump back into PHPMyAdmin, you can see here the delta value right here, and it's set to 0. So that is the first one. Now, if you have the number of values, or the cardinality, that's what they call it sometimes. If that's set to say just 1, then it's always going to be 0. But if you have unlimited or 10, it is going to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on and so forth. So if we jump over to our site and actually change it, so let's set it so it's greater than 1, and things should work as long as you code things correctly. Come along in here. Now we get this snippet, and we can get another set of code right here. It's interesting. Why did it change the order? Actually, let's fix that up. Why did it change that order? Maybe we need to change. Oh, I see. We need to probably set the weight. What is that? Weight to 1, 5. So now, cache is cleared. Refresh. Oh, there we go. So that's right. So now things have been sorted out. Right. Let's now do in custom, I don't know. Well, let's do index HTML. Well, JS. What is it? Const test equals hello world. All right. We put that in there. Now on the front end, it'll automatically handle the options, which is fine. But most importantly, we come along in here and now we have our 2 options. And the delta then, if we come back here, you'll see that, oh, we don't have to loop it here. All right, that's good. Because it's already looping it. I'll probably believe, I think if we go down, oh no, what is it? The base. Is there an actual widget base? And where is form elements? It does go through here and actually, here you go, append it. Okay, so that is what this method is used, is the one that's used to call up the form, is then used to call up this form element perhaps. Then you can see here it goes through and simply loops it. So we don't have to do a custom loop through there, but we do have to in the formatter, because the formatter just gives us all the items in one go. And you can see here that it's going through and adding in a delta. Then if we jump back to PHPMyAdmin and refresh, you will see now we have a delta 1, 0, and then we have a 1 as well. So you can see that that is all there. So yeah, it's important to understand the number of values. All right, now the last part we need to set up is the actual formatter. So let's fix it up so that it is using a custom theme, just to make life a little easier. What I'll do is I will jump over to snippets, and then let's type in function snippets. Come on, CodePilot. Oh, I probably remembered this from earlier today. Yep, it did. Well, actually, we don't need this one. We will use code snippet. We'll call this one source description, and this can be default. All right, so that's looking good. That's looking good. Then under snippets, we need to create a templates directory. All right. And let's create a Twig template. So that'll be snippets default html.twig. And I will copy over just a bit of quick code, which is it just displays the description that gets passed and then the actual code snippet in there. All right. Let's do drush cr, and we're done. Now, at this point, we've just defined the theme. Now what we need to do is plug it in all together. So let's go back to the home page. Let's load it up. Yep, everything's loading up. Come back here, go to widgets. And what we can do is copy over. We do need to, what is that? HTML escape, come on. And it is not adding in the use statements. What's the use statements for that? Use HTML utilities, is that it? Yeah, that's it. All right, cool. All right, and we're gonna do a bit of escaping here. Now, I'm always a bit wary. I do know Twig kind of handles this, and we are gonna test it out, but I wanna make sure that things work correctly. So is it decodes? Into regular, yep, double escapes, and it will be replaced. Will be decoded once. Well, maybe it's encoding. Is it encoding or decoding? I always forget. Sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. Encoding or decode entities. Entity decode. Wait, let me just double check. Entries, convert all to, no, I do not want that one. Always double check your code. I'm not 100% sure, but Twig does do a bit of decoding. All right, so let's fix all that stuff up. And if we come along in here and refresh, what are we going to see? Well, we're not going to see anything because we probably need to clear the cache. All right, clear the cache, refresh, and ooh, that's interesting. We don't see, oh, okay, I think I know what the problem is. So snippet 1, why can't we see the actual description? Because this should be value. Oh, need to clear the cache again. Let me see if I can I filter these out so I don't accidentally hit that? All right. Refresh, and now we should see these nice bit of code right here. Now, the best way to test things out, which I like to do, is I like to just chuck in a random bit of JavaScript, which I know. All right, that's fine. Let's now remove this. And let's also go ahead and clear the cache. There's no alerts. And last but not least, I do know if we come along here and type in raw, that's going to do it. I believe that's going to do it. All right, there we go. So Twig does some type of sanitation. All right, cool, that's fine. But you want to make sure it is nicely sanitized. All right. And let's just run this again. And we're done. It's going to go ahead and run it. All right, perfect. All right, so at this point, if we go back to our code, let's just quickly run right through this one final time. And if you have any questions, just chuck them in. So we first defined our field type, which is called snippets code. And here we can define our isEmpty method. Then, and for certain fields, you may want to extend this a bit more. You know, this is very basic. You may want to, just add in a bit more to it. Then we have property definitions. This is where we define the value, source code, source lang. Then we have the schema. This is the actual column values where everything is stored. Then you have your generate sample value. Then your widget itself points to the field type. And then here you define your widget. Of course, if you had settings and a whole bunch of custom settings, you'll just chuck them in here. Then under field formatter, we have view elements. And this is where you display your formatter define your formatter, which is then displayed on the front end. So that's about it. Any questions before we finish up? I do hope this stream went out okay, because in Restream, it's not loading up properly. But by the looks of it, I think it has. I think so. Anyway, we'll find out after the fact. Okay. Well, let's just leave it there. Well, thank you. One comment in YouTube. Thank you very much. No, thank you. Let's just leave it there. My live streams may become a bit more ad hoc because I will be doing a bit of traveling in the future. So we'll see how things go. I'm going to try and do things on the road. It's going to be fun. I did get a fancy adapter where I can connect, and it actually came today. It's pretty cool. Well, let me just finish this video and then I can talk about the other stuff. So thank you very much for coming. If you want to learn more about Drupal, just head over to WebWash and also check out the YouTube channel for WebWash, where we have all our recorded videos and all our past live streams. So you don't have to watch this live, but it is great when it is live. So anyway, if you have any questions, please leave a comment and I'll catch you all next time. So as I was mentioning, I will be doing a bit of, I will be traveling. So my streams may be a little bit ad hoc, but I've been figuring out ways how to have this mic, because I've got it now on a mic boom, but I want to actually have it on a tripod. And I was able to get this nice little fancy adapter, this Rode adapter. You can see right here. Let me see if you can actually see that. Where is it? You can't see it. Yeah. Well, let me actually switch over. What am I doing? Oh, there we go. Switch over there. There we go. Full cam. So you've got this like little fancy. Come on, zoom in. Oh, there we go. Got this like little fancy thing. Fancy. Oh, you can't. Damn it. I'm on autofocus. So I'm working. Oh, there we go. It's working now. Working. And it's got this. It's this little cool one. It's actually pretty cool. You can unscrew it. It's like this cool little adapter, which means I can then put this mic on an actual normal tripod for cameras, which I've got heaps of. And yeah, I'll be able to do streams on the road. I'm not going to probably have a nice fancy camera setup, but at the end of the day, I'm just in the corner. That's about it. So anyway, well, that's it. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll catch you all next time. See you later. Bye-bye.